Hey, what is going on, everyone? Well, I'm so glad that you have took your time to spend with me right here today on the MRB Wrestling Review Show. I'm your co-host, Mike McRock Wilson, and last night was NXT from the Full Sail University in Orlando, Florida. What I really liked about last night's show was the kickoff. How it kicked off with Paul Heyman coming out, and he mentioned that he's going to scout for a new Paul Heyman guy within the next few weeks on NXT. And he said he's going to look for the next Brock Lesnar. Well, obviously I can't say it like him, but you get the point, right? And immediately I thought, you know what? Paul Heyman, look no further than Mason Ryan. Mason Ryan is a guy that I think should be managed by a guy like Paul Heyman, just to have that mouthpiece so that Mason Ryan could come out and just destroy everyone. I think that would be the best thing for the both of them. And speaking of Mason Ryan, I'll get to him later on in this review, but in the meantime, when Paul Heyman was out, he was out praising the NXT fans and really praising the whole thing about NXT, talking about looking to the future, looking for the next Paul Heyman guy, like I said before, Mason Ryan, and then shortly after he introduced Curtis Axel, saying who could become the next Intercontinental Champ, etc., etc. And then he said no one can beat by Paul Heyman guy Curtis Axel, and then out comes Big E Langston to accept the challenge to face Axel for the Intercontinental Championship. And what I like about this is that, usually a title like the United States Champ, in this case the Intercontinental Champ, won't change hands on NXT because it is NXT. Usually the NXT Championship will change hands and not any other title. And with that being said, I like that what happened was that Paul Heyman, as soon as you think Big E Langston was going to get the win, Paul Heyman comes in and attacks Big E Langston from behind. Big E Langston turns around, sees Paul Heyman. The little things Paul Heyman does is absolutely brilliant throughout that entire match. And what I like about it is that the audience is really smart on NXT, as opposed to, so they say, I'm not saying that the fans are not smart on Raw and SmackDown. What I'm saying is that the fans on NXT are just hardcore. They know when they see something great, and they're chanting, "Thank you, Paul." Those little things like that I like on NXT, and and the same thing happened, the week before when they were really praising the Y family because they knew that was their last appearance on NXT. And with that being said, with Paul Heyman there, Paul Heyman praised the fans, and to give back, the NXT fans praised Paul Heyman. So those things like that I like, and but the only thing that I think should have happened was probably someone else coming out and accepting the challenge, like an established NXT superstar, rather than someone who's going to be established on Raw and SmackDown and then being brought back. Yeah, it's just a little nitpicking, but I would rather prefer someone who's building up to become a superstar than someone who's already on Raw and SmackDown to face Curtis Axel last night on NXT. And then that's all, just a little bit of nitpicking. And speaking of Mason Ryan, like I said before, he was in a one-on-one match with Scott Dawson with Sylvester LaForte, from one manager to another. I like those little things like that. And another thing that came good out of that was Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy try to come out and try to cost Mason Ryan the match, but to no avail. Mason Ryan gets the win over Scott Dawson, and all of this is kind of foreshadowing some sort of 2-on-1 or possibly 3-on-1 handicap match within the next week or so, including all these guys. And what I really like is that there's no really working jobber throughout this rivalry between all these guys, because Mason Ryan is a guy that can benefit from just annihilating anyone who's in his path, And in the same time, Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy, they're trying to make a name for themselves. And what better way to make a name for themselves? To try to face one of the big guys on NXT. So it's a win-win situation for all of these guys in this one rivalry. And also we saw a couple of backstage segments with Sami Zayn challenging Antonio Cesaro to a 2 out of 3 falls match. And later on we saw, before the show came to a close, we saw Antonio Cesaro with a backstage interview accepting the challenge to Sami Zayn, and then, and of course, Antonio Cesaro, he'll say the most abrupt things, and this resulted in an attack on Antonio Cesaro from Sami Zayn, building up this 2 out of 3 falls match. And what I like about this is that, usually in a rivalry, and then you add a stipulation, kind of signifies this is going to be the end of this rivalry. And with that being said, I expect Sami Zayn to win, to gain the benefit from this match, only because Antonio Cesaro is already an established superstar on Raw and SmackDown. And with that being said, with the Sami Zayn will look good if he does win this match. I cannot see Sami Zayn lose, because he's a guy that they're trying to build up to Raw and SmackDown. And with that being said, hopefully Sami Zayn does win this 2 out of 3 falls match next week on NXT. Also last night, Paige faced Summer Rae for the NXT Women's Champ. And I think it was too soon for Paige to lose this, so I like that Paige got the win. And what I really like about this match is that, Summer Rae is already, on Raw and SmackDown as, Fandango's dance partner. So really, Summer Rae really don't need that NXT Women's Championship. I could see here going for the Divas Champ, AJ Lee, sometime not sooner, but later on in her career, and etc., whatever happens. And speaking of the Divas Champ, AJ Lee, we saw a backstage segment with her, and she's talking about defending her title, her Divas Championship, on NXT next week against whoever it may be. Lo and behold, Bayley enters this situation, and and I gotta say, this is going to be a match made in hell or heaven or whatever you want to call it, because both Bayley and AJ Lee are really kooky, crazy in their own twisted way. So I like that these two are going to go head to head. And with that being said, this is a match I'm really looking forward to on NXT next week. And I'm surprised they're not having this match on Raw and SmackDown, because a match like that could really help the Divas division on Raw and SmackDown. And I'm kind of disappointed that it is not happening on those shows. And that just makes NXT look great more than the other WWE shows. And it's a shame that Raw and SmackDown are not using their Divas division very well. And on NXT that they are. And with that being said, like I said, I'm really looking forward to this match. The way those two talk to each other on NXT backstage was just absolutely brilliant. It was really weird and awkward in the same time as well. And like I said, I'm looking forward to this match. And the main event was Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, The Shield, in a 6-man tag team match against Corey Graves, Adrian Neville, and Xavier Woods. What I like about this match was that it was really well constructed throughout. For the first half of the match, we saw the good guys singling out the bad guys, and then the second half, the bad guys singling out the good guys. And then chaos ensues in the last, few minutes of the match until, the Shield won the match. And what I also like was that Xavier Woods looked really great within the last few minutes. And you almost thought he was going to get the win in those couple of moments when he was going one-on-one with Seth Rollins in the ring while all the other guys were spread out outside the ring. And with that being said, I think the Shield was the right way to go for them to get the win because, you know, the NXT was their stopping grounds. This is where they, you know, they were building up, and now they're on the main card on Raw and SmackDown. And with that being said, even though, you know, they won the match, you know, they look great, they also made their opponents look great as well. That was a heartfelt match with all those 6 guys, and they made Xavier Woods, Neville, and Graves look outstanding on NXT. And as far as 6-man tag team matches go, that was just absolutely incredible. And that was my review of NXT from the Full Sail University in Orlando, Florida. I'm your co-host for the MRB Wrestling Review Show, Mike McRock Wilson, signing out. Get plenty of rest, and always do your best.